So, hello, friends. Welcome once again onto this weekly High with LHD show. And we have Jayant Kola once again joining us. Jayant was here with us last year, and we had a wonderful conversation around the trends that made 2020. I guess we'll have as insightful and as exciting a conversation even this year. Uh, um, before this week has been pretty eventful, actually. Just before I start, and just let me recapitulate. Very interesting stuff that happened this year. So if you see, uh, employees formed a union at Alphabet. It's called the Alphabet Workers Union. The Alphabet, of course, as most of us know, is Google's parent. There was a Just Pay data breach. Data of over 3.5 crore users was leaked. It was a Bangalore-based company that processes payments for companies, including Amazon, Make My Trip, Swiggy, others, which is why the development is pretty significant. Uh, Twitter and Facebook have ousted the US president from their respective platforms. Uh, it is an unprecedented kind of move. So, which is why I said we have a very eventful week. Uh, Facebook said that it can now use WhatsApp data. Most of us who know these companies will say, okay, so what? What's new? But we'll come to that in a minute. Bitcoin has created a flurry again. It has crossed $40,000. If I'm not mistaken, it was Morgan Stanley or somebody who said that it will reach something like $176
JP
thousand
Morgan.
dollars. Yeah, JP Morgan.
JP
Yeah.
Morgan.
So I think the question that we're going to ask is the FOMO factor working out here? Fear of missing out, for those who are not familiar with the abbreviation. And Lava has introduced its first made-to-order phones. So, uh, Jayant, you're an expert, being the Motorola man. So we shall ask you how significant this development is in the context of Make in India. So this was, you know, these are the kind of developments that I found very interesting. Either one of you, come on, what did you find? I find all of these developments very hilarious, but
I found that callow, you know, utterly shameless behavior of Facebook and Twitter. I'm calling it utterly shameless because, it is ridiculous. You make a show of putting that man out of your platform when every one of his allies have deserted him, right? You did not have the courage to do it all the time when he was abusing that platform. So this is not courage. This is not principles. This is mere simple opportunism. They are making a show, just as the cabinet members of Trump's cabinet are doing, resigning with 10 days to go. They're not resigning out of any moral push. They're resigning simply because, their rats are deserting the ship and they don't want to testify for Section 25. Once again, they are actually supporting him. Because if they were to be around, then they would have to testify. They would have to vote to oust him. They don't want to do it. Similarly, Facebook and Twitter is absolutely callow. I mean, doing it now when there is absolutely no point in doing it, that he's conceded. Everybody has deserted him. He has no, even if he were to do anything drastic, nobody is going to support him. His own vice president has supported him. He's deserted him. So what are you doing? I mean, this is a symbolic sham as far as I'm concerned.
What if he starts his own alternative social media platform? You think 75 million users already are there in the US?
Who's going to fund him? It'll be a brave VC who will fund him.
Don't you think he has enough money in the coffers?
No. I mean, look, that man's finances are in a mess. He paid $750 last year as tax. Yeah, I have always been. He has declared bankruptcy thrice in his life. Okay. So nobody is going to fund him a couple of $1 million to start his own platform. No chance. Basically, if he does it, it'll be good because then FBI will know exactly who to catch.
So, Jayant, what's your take on this? 4 years too late or bold move, or is it that, if you remember, we discussed, I think just a couple of weeks back, that all these companies, the big tech was being punished by all the governments. So is
Yeah.
this some kind of, getting back?
Antitrust laws by FTC and 49 AGs against Facebook and this.
Yeah.
So, this is more of a political move, and, I'm not a political commentator, but I remember, and Facebook threw up this, this memory of mine status update from 4 years ago. If you remember, exactly 4 years ago, Jack Dorsey got back to Twitter to, revive it. Okay. And I remember putting a Facebook status that, we don't know if Jack is gonna, revive Twitter, but Twitter's got a new savior to drive traffic, and it's Donald Trump. This was 4 years ago, because every tweet that Donald Trump was doing on Twitter, he was essentially announcing policy decisions on Twitter, right? And Twitter, all of a sudden, from being a company, tech company, which was losing its relevance, remember? Okay, and Jack was brought in as a founder in chief to revive that. All of a sudden found a savior in Donald Trump, or, that's at least how I viewed it. And, 4 years later, that platform was available for him to do anything and everything, to run amok. And I agree with Subbu, right now, I think it's more of a, everyone rats deserting a sinking ship, and, Facebook and Twitter joining the line.
I don't see a spine. I mean, I saw more spine in Mike Pence, when he refused to follow Trump's orders. This is not spine. This is essentially saying that, hey, listen, you are down, and mine is going to be the other boat that is going to come. This is not. That's
one way to put it. Yes.
I didn't see too much sense in the resignations either. I mean, yes, fine, they did that. But I wouldn't say hats off, because I thought the resignation that came at the last
Leslie,
moment.
if you look at it, the resignation is very opportunistic. Some of them are resigning because if Mike Pence invokes 25, then it's a cabinet which has to oust him, and they don't want to be a part of that cabinet.
Exactly.
And others are leaving because it is 10 days there. I mean, what can we might as well show put up stance up and say, hey, listen, I also did the right thing. What were you doing for 4 years?
Right. And the interesting part is when all the decisions were taken about getting them off the platform, or ousting them from the platform, Jack Dorsey was at a resort. I think he was playing hot and cold, putting heat out here and jumping into the pool.
Leslie, one way to look at it is, what could be understandable is, because this came the day of the Capitol Hill riots and protests, right? If the ban was temporary, saying that, okay, these guys' tweets could be inciting. We already have a riot situation here, in the middle of Capitol Hill. Okay, it's as much as a breach of security as it can get, and we don't want the situation to escalate. So we'll ban his account temporarily, so that until this situation subsides, right? That is understandable. And, we've had governments take those steps all over the world, especially in India. You can see, whenever there's a terrorist activity or a bombing, you see the mobile networks going down to avoid those guys, communicating and all that stuff, right? Or inciting more violence, right? That is understandable. But a permanent ban, doesn't make sense. I mean, he's not the only character on these platforms. We have so many.
Yeah, I mean, even I'm finding that a little. I guess people might say, are you a Republican or right wing or something like that? But this I find this a little strange. Of course, it's because this is no longer just a private company, and it is not your say my father's platform kind of stuff, because it is far beyond that. We have taken a lot of data from here, and there are many people who want their voice to be heard. So, as a sociological phenomenon, I think this is a subject. I think emotions are running high at this point in time, and probably we need to introspect a little more and reflect whether this is the right move. I don't know. I mean, I've not made up my mind at this point in time.
So from the company's point of view, they'll always get back and say, we are following the same policy when we banned Breitbart and when we banned David Icke and other conspiracy theorists of the world. And
but as Subbu said at the outset, it's 4 years they've been allowing the entire thing. So I mean,
they haven't banned, to the last I checked, they haven't banned QAnon.
Yeah.
Exactly, QAnon is there.
Very opportunistic, very non-standard policies.
And we
Exactly.
have a
So
lot of
I'm
guys
sure.
from India also who have got a very different kind of take on many other subjects. Nobody's being banned on that kind of stuff.
True, true.
Without
No, I'm
getting
sure there is a truth there that Twitter knows. It is so profound that many of us, can't get it. I'm sure there is some profundity behind it. I mean, I can't understand that really.
Yeah, maybe an algorithm understands it better than us
Exactly.
at
Yeah,
this
yeah,
point
yeah.
in time. But segueing into a related kind of topic, this of course happened, but at the same time, the so-called saviors of the social media, uh, you have now Facebook tying up with WhatsApp data, and you know, so now I've already seen a trend basically because I know many of my friends. See, I had moved to Telegram long back, almost like 2, 3, almost 2, 3 years back. I think many of us have actually moved to Telegram. Signal, I'm not too sure what
Signal.
the status is. I mean, how many users are there in India? I'm not too clear about that, but I know that Telegram has a significant amount of
Yeah.
Yeah.
users. And please, friends, and for the audience, Telegram is not an Indian company. It's, the founders are Russian, and of
Russian.
course, yeah, it's a
And
German
it's not a
company.
Chinese company also. Please
No, it's
mention
not
that.
a
Chinese
Chinese
company.
company either. Either. So I think those
True.
are interesting things that need to be. So because I think people got excited about the Make in India movement and they said, okay, fine, let's move to Telegram. I don't think that should be the reason. But just sticking to first the Facebook and WhatsApp, what are your thoughts on that? Now all the data is getting interconnected. Uh, what are the pros cons kind of stuff that you all see?
So
No, yeah, go on.
can I go on? Okay. Like you said at the beginning, Leslie, that some of us who have experienced or have had empirical evidence, is this anything new? I mean, we knew this was happening. In fact, to the extent that even an average Joe would get it because there were memes available, even as last year saying that, I don't shop anymore. I don't search for products on Amazon anymore or Facebook anymore. I just, type on WhatsApp what I want to buy, and I get ads, and discounts on my Facebook feed to do that. So people have been, knowing and knowing that this thing was happening. WhatsApp sharing data with Facebook, it's too many coincidences on your Facebook feed and ads, right? But if you also look at it from the Facebook,
in 2016, either Wired has
right?
pointed
Wired
this
has
out in
found
an
it out
article.
in August
Yeah,
2016. Yes,
yeah, August 2016, they had
August
sent WhatsApp
2016.
had sent
Yeah,
update basically, and those who have
update.
consented to that already you're sharing your data
Already,
with Facebook.
exactly.
Correct. And they had given a 30-day moratorium, 30-day window to
Yes,
opt out of it, right?
and
But if you look
given
at it,
most of us, I don't think most of us would have even read that. We would have just consented or probably given.
exactly. But let's look at it from a business model and a company point of view. Facebook acquires WhatsApp for $19 billion a few years back. Okay. A company which has a lot of users and a lot of billions of messages being sent on a daily basis, but no monetization, none whatsoever. Okay. And purely from a business model and a monetization model point of view, is it any surprise? Or and from Facebook's point of view, why shouldn't they? I mean, they sunk in almost $20 billion. I mean, by the time the integration and the OK happened, the amount went up to $22 billion of that acquisition, right? How best would they be, making it work? So purely from that point of view, it is no surprise, and it's a business decision, I would say, okay, of sharing this data and making both the products work in tandem and in sync. And I would imagine that level of integration potential was already available, okay, and hence the price a few years back.
And you made a
So
very interesting
look at the
point.
courage.
Yeah,
Look at the courage of these guys. I mean, on one hand, there is an antitrust move.
Yeah,
There is a lawsuit which says that break up these two companies.
correct.
2 weeks later, these guys come back and tell you in public that far from breaking up, we are actually going to be integrating a lot
integrating,
more. So I mean,
and it's in your face, kind of.
it's in your face. And by the way, look, they also know that it's been going on.
Yeah.
Okay, so this message, at some level, I'm sure it is to the lawmaker to say, you know what? I mean, you're going to break me up.
Do what you
Here is
want.
the deal. Here's the deal.
Do what you
I've
want.
been doing it. Now I'm telling you in your face that I'm going to do it.
No, and I want to ask this question to both of you guys. What are the options really do we have? Do you think that Telegram, honestly speaking, is any kind of a competition to this kind of integration from a point of view of business? Does it really offer you the kind of options that a Facebook and Twitter, say from digital marketing perspective, from SEO perspective, for businesses, for this? Because Facebook, the way I look at it, has built a whole business around it. Whether it shares your data or not, well, everybody, all the apps, for that matter of fact, ask you for your location data. Without that, you won't even be able to enter. I think, except with the exception of Signal, perhaps to some extent. But then Signal is hardly known for any other businesses. And correct me if I'm wrong, neither is Telegram from that point of view. So that would be interesting if you all can throw some, insights from a digital marketing perspective, from businesses perspective. What really options do we have?
From a marketers and the advertisers point of view, what other option apart from WhatsApp, for digital ads integration? Probably not a lot. I mean, definitely Telegram and Signal won't offer you that because they're out and out internet messengers, right? Mobile internet messengers. I mean, they're great for the consumer. They're great, better security and, no other social media platform for data to be shared. From a consumer point of view, it's great. But from smaller businesses which have built their, marketing ad budgets and their businesses based on WhatsApp or WhatsApp for business, probably not a whole lot.
And also for users, I think the chats remain private. I don't think the chats are.
Yeah. They have made it very clear that the encryption, end-to-end encryption, there is no change. It is only the WhatsApp for business where they are now saying that the data will be shared. And see, I mean, I would tend to agree with Giant because let's break this whole thing, this conversation into two parts. One is impact on consumer, two, impact on businesses, right? Impact on consumers, zilch. No impact on consumers. There everything remains the way it was. Their data was even earlier being given out to somebody, and now also it's going to be given out to somebody. And they've already signed up their entire life and, for the next 10 generations already to WhatsApp. No change. For the businesses, there is a big change. Because see, now, if I'm a small business, okay, and I advertise, I'm on WhatsApp for business, my data gets acquired by WhatsApp seamlessly. Now, while that may be great for business as far as WhatsApp is concerned and Facebook is concerned, let's also pause a little bit. It's actually pretty good for me also. Because as a small business, now I'm there on two platforms. Right? So I'm not sure it's such a, like I said, consumer, absolutely no impact. For businesses, they have to really evaluate that is their data, moving into one more platform worth the additional advantages, that they're likely to get. Now, obviously, Facebook is not going to give anything away free. The other thing I wanted to tell Jayant is that, see, Jayant, when we talk about $19 billion and $22 billion, I think one thing we need to understand, it's $4 billion cash and $15 billion stock swap.
Stock swap, yes.
Right? So it is $4 billion that they have spent in cash, plus maybe $1 billion or $2, $2 billion. So if you look at the cash component of it, okay, I mean, obviously we are talking about $6 billion as it's nothing. Fact is, it is 50,000 crores or 45,000 crores. Okay, so let's put that in perspective.
For a 55-member company, WhatsApp was a 55-member company.
Yeah, exactly. So $1 billion a pop, kind of in terms of spend, right? So in terms of cash, it is still fairly small from overall Facebook's war chest.
Fair enough.
Okay, right. So to me, I think this particular announcement is timed for three things. One, it is time to say that for businesses to say that you are actually going to get integrated a lot more tightly. And in terms of platform, we are going to offer a much wider platform than the government of Google. Okay, so that's the first message.
The second message,
the Republic of Google, yes. Okay, the Republic of Google, right? The second message is essentially to tell the consumers right? That there is nothing that is going to change as far as your life is concerned.
Fair enough.
Okay. Now the problem with the second messaging is that they've messed it up completely messed it up. All right. So there's a lot of debate. Even in my family group, there was a lot of debate about should we switch to Telegram, and Telegram's algorithms,
Yeah.
and it's more private and this and that. And finally, I said, you know what? Nothing is changing in your life.
Changing. Yeah, true.
Okay. So why would you want to do that? The third message, like I said, is actually to the lawmakers,
Hmm.
thumbing their nose and saying, yeah, come break me up. Okay. I think these are the three messages that I don't think there's an alternative. Telegram is not an alternative. I mean,
Exactly my point.
Network
Signal
effect.
is not an
Yeah.
alternative.
That
Not
network
for
effect
us.
is just not present over
There
there.
is,
Network
there
effect
is,
is not
it's
there.
a TINA factor, and Facebook knows
Tina
that.
factor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
and
And
It's just
and
Subbu,
not
also
there.
the
Yeah.
trust factor is very important. I think they have, just because people have lost that trust that okay, Facebook is that these are like kind of platitudes being stated
yeah,
without
yeah,
any real thing. But I think if it's a serious businessman, he's going to think twice before
Exactly.
shifting platform, because
true.
there's a cost to shift platforms, there's a
Cost to
cost to
ship platform,
acquire
and what am I
Cost to
platforms.
shift.
getting?
How do I
Exactly.
acquire new users? How do I do this? It's a very
Absolutely.
serious kind of stuff. So I don't think it's
Exactly.
going to happen.
So I have one other observation on the timing. It had to be this week when the entire world is focusing number one on Capitol Hill, number two on the COVID variants. I mean, almost
Yeah.
250,000 this one in US alone, 60K in UK, and 1,000 plus deaths all over the world. Restrictions coming down. Timing. I mean, in the last 8 months, ever since the lockdown and the pandemic has come in, how many such announcements have we seen from
But by
Pentagon
the way,
acknowledging UFOs, okay, to everything, right? So I guess
but
if
by the
there
way,
was any better time, yeah, go ahead.
no, I'm saying, but by the way, in all these major announcements, one announcement you're forgetting, with the one which you and me had a discussion about. Where's Jack Ma?
Oh, don't even
Ah.
get there.
We'll not get there. We'll just leave it at that,
Yeah,
because I
I
think
know, I know. So
that's
Where is
that
he? I
I
mean,
think
really, I want to know. I mean, where is he?
I think the world wants to know.
he knows.
I think
Uh,
the nation doesn't want to know, but the world wants to
Correct.
know.
Correct. So I think timing wise, yeah, I mean, why not better than this week? And second thing, just touching upon the Facebook antitrust laws, if any government regulator anywhere in the world in late 2020, early 2021, is looking at having antitrust lawsuits against Facebook, much more than breaking up Instagram, WhatsApp, and Facebook into the different companies. One thing that needs to be front and centered, has to be Libra, because that one particular thing has the potential to literally give the monopolistic power to Facebook going forward. Okay, this has to be forward looking. Okay, anything that you're talking about breaking up Instagram and WhatsApp and Facebook is like driving your car looking at the rearview mirror, right?
That's interesting. Yeah, I agree with that. I think
So
you ought to look at the future rather
Libra.
than what's happened in the
Yeah, the
past.
future. So, and that's an entire different discussion, but I just want to see the
Yeah, no,
thought
no,
there
but
and move on.
But that's a good point to peg on the next one that we are anyway going to talk about, is the
Yeah.
bitcoins. Basically, now Bitcoin has reached $40,000. Of course, we have spoken about bitcoins in the previous sessions also. There's nothing really to add. But the interesting part is, at last, I'm seeing some serious discussions about this whole FOMO factor. I mean, whether people are reacting because they think it's the new gold. You have the different kind of headline. But what I'm finding very pertinent in now, there are serious kind of discussions that are happening, whether what is is it, if it's not legal tender in India. Okay, I think people have not learned to differentiate between whether it's a legal
Yeah.
tender, whether it is legal, whether it is, because they're saying, no, the Supreme Court has not had lifted the ban. Yeah, but it has lifted the ban, but there's no regulatory framework as of now.
Correct.
So how do you do the trading? Is it a digital asset? No, it is not a digital asset. Is it legal tender? No, it is not legal tender. So if I'm effectively trading, it's the whole kind of very messy kind of area. So
The stock market, the stock market's Wild West.
It is, right? It is.
Really, it is a stock market's
Absolutely.
Wild West, and I think most people who are right now buying are have read the same report, JP Morgan's report,
JP
right?
Morgan's report.
Okay, and I think most, if not all of them, are essentially speculators.
Yeah, exactly.
Most of it.
It,
So I think that is really where the cookie crumbles as far as I'm concerned.
and
We
India is
said
up.
that, right? We said that
Yeah,
it's going to cross
we
100,000,
spoke about it.
right? So
Yeah.
yeah. So I
But
think
the
it will
point
be
is, I
a
think India, it all depends on how the Indian regulator acts. Because I think they are, I read it somewhere that they are already trying to introduce a new law, either effectively banning cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin in India. So if I mean, in India, anything is possible. We have seen it in the past. So that's a little kind of dicey area. I would be a little careful about it. I know I like blockchain a lot, the underlying technology of Bitcoins. I personally am not really sure about the regulatory framework around Bitcoin. That's,
See,
as
they
I said, my
won't
personal
they
opinion.
won't ban crypto because that is like shooting yourself in the foot. I mean,
Right.
Yeah, the
crypto
Supreme
is a
Court and
reality.
anyway has not
Right.
allowed it.
It's a reality. So I mean, I don't think they'll ban crypto, but what they will probably do is stack the odds so much against it before they
Yeah.
come with their own sovereign standard.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Exactly. Exactly.
Correct.
That's
Okay.
what's going to happen. I mean,
Yeah.
Leslie, in the last episode a few weeks back, we've talked about all the trends or all the drivers that would drive the Bitcoin price up. We've essentially identified 4 or 5 of them, and it's essentially those 4 or 5 which we will see this rally go on at least this calendar year. Okay, but it's going to be short term. But the fact still remains, and I'd like to re-emphasize, is that it's a speculative asset as of today, and everyone who's dealing with it or pumping the price up is a speculator, be it Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan, or a retail investor, a 25-year-old who's investing $150 buying 0.000 something of Bitcoin. Everyone is a speculator. What defines Bitcoin as an asset today in the real world is yet to be established.
Yeah.
Okay. And we've discussed last time that the entire sovereign digital currencies and cryptocurrencies that are coming up in a hurry are actually, could be something that could, dethrone this entire wave and the speculation. Okay.
Governments may
Right.
come up with their own kind of
The
cryptocurrency.
only
Absolutely.
thing, the only thing I'm a little unsure about, and I don't have any data for that, but is that how much of this increase in prices is due to the corporate's treasury investment?
Yeah.
That's an
That
that's a marker for me
That's
it
market.
would be
because
an
they are
interesting
not
reference.
your day-to-day day traders, right?
Correct.
And this
Correct.
is a legitimate asset class
Yeah. Yeah.
in the US, right?
Yeah.
Companies have actually, invested and
Yeah.
park their monies in cryptocurrencies. So I just want to understand as to how much of that, because that will also, define uh, whether it's purely speculation,
Mm.
which is what it looks to me at this point in time, or is it that it is a legitimate asset class where the corporates are also going in, the treasuries
Mm.
are going in,
Mm.
okay,
Mm.
and therefore at some stage, okay, there could be a liquidity event happening from the treasury also.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably
But
we'll look at. Yeah.
it's extremely tough. It's almost impossible to decipher that when 4 or 5 different triggers and drivers are working in tandem, Subbu. Even the 2017 rally, right? I mean, we have seen some institutional investors, okay, come in and play, and they jacked up the price. And when the fall happened, they were the first ones to jump out
Get
and
out, yeah.
get out, and the guys who bore the brunt were the Chinese retail investors to the most part, okay, retail speculators. We don't know. I mean, right now, there are 4 or 5 drivers and enablers which are driving up the price. And to what extent is the corporate treasuries factoring in that this one? At this stage, it will be extremely difficult. Probably over a period of time, once some of these drivers sort of plateau, we'll be able to, get to some quantification.
This story won't be ending very soon. So I think we'll be having more discussions on
Right.
Bitcoin and the whole cryptocurrency arena. But let's move to the last topic of this week. I mean, the interesting part of it. Given your Motorola background, Lava has come up with this
And
whole.
Nokia.
Yo, Nokia also. So you're the right person, I think, to start this conversation. Made in India. Is it assembled in India? It's really made in India. Is it a good a very good beginning, a good start for this whole Make in India movement? What exactly? I mean,
Made, what
will be
they
able to
claim,
fight the Chinese
what
phones.
they claim to have launched is a made for order phone, right? So you
Yeah.
can essentially, order in your features and functionalities. Back in the day, Google had Ara, okay, their modular phone, okay, and then they quickly got out of it. And I think it was 2014, 15 or something, okay. But again, the thing is, in 2021, it's Lava which is launching that. And unfortunately, most of the Indian brands today don't have the kind of strong footing that they used to back in the
Yeah,
day.
where's
Be it
Micromax? Where's Carbon? Where's, we
Waste
had,
Carbon, Waste Lava. I mean, back in
where's
the day, Lava was among the top three,
yes,
mobile phone brands by market share
Micromax
in India.
was a very,
Micromax was leading. Samsung was second, and Lava was number three to a certain point of time. But today in 2021, all these brands, don't are not what they used to be. Let me put it that way, right? And today launching a made for order phone, okay, is a good market. It's a good differentiator and a marketing point, but don't know how much that will actually translate for business for the company. When it comes to making in India, all we are having right now, except for the big manufacturers like Samsung, and to some extent, I won't even call Xiaomi, but primarily Samsung, right? Uh, Phones are not being made from the scratch here. I mean, they at the most,
exactly, that's it.
semi knockdown or complete knockdown, okay, CKDs. And in some of the cases, actually, assembly is proving to be costly because the individual parts are taxed differently. The customs duty is different on individual parts. So, assembly is actually turning out to be costly for, Make in India. But all of these are clubbed under the, Made in India or Make in India campaign, and the numbers really look high. Okay, but most of what the Indian brands and the companies are doing in India when it comes to phone manufacturing is still some kind of a knockdown assembly, semi or complete.
Perhaps it's a good start from a point of view of having manufacturing units in India, creating more, generating more employment, creating more things,
It,
and
it definitely,
giving a boost to the semiconductor ecosystem kind of stuff,
yes,
regardless of whether it's an ATMP or. I know we don't
correct.
have a semiconductor plant worth
We don't
talking
have a
about.
fab in India,
We
okay,
don't
Yeah,
have a
but
fab,
it's
yeah.
no,
we
we
don't
don't
have
have.
a fab,
We have the
and but
small, very small fabs, but I think that's about how many NM I am. I've stopped even keeping track of that.
yeah,
Right.
keeping track. So no, but the problem is, yes, it could be a segue, it could be a lead to that, but it's a long term planning. I mean, a fab coming up in India is at least a 7 to 8 year plan, and that kind of an investment, time and money, right? And we haven't seen,
No,
unfortunately,
and
that
by
kind of
then
a vision. And
the technology would have already changed.
yeah,
Because by the time
yeah.
you talk about setting up a 8 nanometer or the 4 nanometer fab, who knows what
It,
would have
see,
happened to the
the
technology.
thing
So I
is,
don't think.
be it electronics manufacturing or a fab setup, it's not about a single factory setup, right? We're talking about an ecosystem,
It's an
okay?
ecosystem.
And we need component makers, we need
A downstream
staff
ecosystem.
training, downstream ecosystem, and the local market as well. Okay, what is being manufactured needs to be absorbed in the local market. Then only the economics make sense, and then you need to have significant investment for the scale of economies to hit the critical mass, right? And some of these things are few years in the making, and unfortunately, we haven't found a lot of Indian businesses with that kind of appetite for investment. Okay, both in terms of time and money,
Yeah,
and
there were talks. I mean, Intel had spoken about it. I remember AMD had spoken about it. Reliance at one point in time, there was
yeah,
news that Reliance would be setting up a semiconductor plant.
true.
But all these, I think now currently we are just restricted to the ATMP facilities, more from a design ecosystem. But I guess
There are
it's
multiple
fine.
issues, be it structural issues
Yeah.
as to the amount of water that is
Water.
required for
I
a
was
fab.
just going to say that the amount of
Distilled,
Yeah,
water.
you require pure water. I mean,
you
for
require
that.
Yeah,
pure
yeah,
water, pure distilled water.
absolutely.
Yeah, we
So
don't have enough
that has
water.
been. I remember back in 2000, 2001, there was I was doing my first startup, and there was a talk of setting up a fab unit in near Chennai, in Mahabalipuram. And then, it's just the sheer requirement of absolutely clean water
Exactly.
was an inhibitor. See, to
Yeah.
me, I think it's a good beginning. it's a good thing to happen, because let's understand that, Atmanirbhar, make in India,
Yeah, the
is being
self-reliance.
interpreted as self-sufficient. I think it's self-reliant.
Yes,
Yeah,
it should be
yeah, yeah, yeah.
self-reliance.
You can't
We
be
are
a
nowhere
village
close to
economy.
self-sufficient. I mean,
Yeah,
we are nowhere close to self-sufficiency.
right. So we are not, I think we should be clear that we are going to be, getting in parts and components from, China or wherever,
Right.
and assembling them. And I particularly like the example that Jan gave, that, you need to have a downstream ecosystem to absorb
Yeah.
whatever you're making, right? China has that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Now, if you're able to do that, then your costs may come down and you may be able to compete. Today, can you compete? Absolutely not. Because, you are 20 years behind China. Let's accept that once and for all.
True.
At least 20 years behind them. And you're a democracy, which means decisions take a little longer, right? So if you put the entire, the political and the social and economic ecosystem here, I think this is a good beginning. Whether they are importing, I'm sure they're importing CKDs or SKDs, it doesn't matter, but they're importing components, they're putting it all together,
Right.
and they will be more expensive. This made to order is a nice marketing tactic. It reminds me of the time
Tagline.
when, yeah, it's a nice tagline. Like if you remember when, the cable, the DTH was deregulated, right?
Yes, yes.
And they said you can make your own package.
Yeah,
That was a
yeah,
massive scam, because
Yeah, it
whatever
increased
you did,
it's increased the
okay,
prices.
the price
it
wouldn't come
increased.
down. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Whatever
prices
you
shot up.
want was going to be more expensive than what they were giving you,
True.
And that
right?
basic package is
I'm
as good
sure
as
the DTH
useless.
companies hired a few insurance product managers to put together those bouquets, man. I swear
Right. I
there
mean,
was no way that you could get what you could get with paying less than what you're currently paying.
and and the sweetest part of the whole thing was that before all this, there was a option by which I could take all the channels,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the first thing that went out of the window was this option. Okay? You could take all the channels. All
But
right.
Subbu and Jayan, talking about marketing, before we end, one more thing I want to ask both of you. What on earth is a blockchain only phone, for heaven's sake?
We've had long conversations offline on
Yeah,
this.
I seriously, I just can't wrap my head around that whole thing. I asked somebody who said, I got one of these press releases and said a blockchain only phone. I said, yeah, but what is a blockchain only
Only phone.
phone? So, I mean, people also have started banding around these terms. It's like
Yeah.
an AI
It's just
company, an
throwing
AI
a
startup.
buzzword
Oh,
at its
God, it's
peak,
crazy.
okay, at its peak of the hype cycle, okay, to make a good headline, getting a good headline out of it, and
I think.
by extension the company's name out there.
But just imagine that, you're in a, in a Friday evening cocktails, and you just flip out your phone, say, you know what, this is just a blockchain only phone.
Blockchain
Blockchain.
only phone.
Oh man, you're
See,
going to be the
but I
star of the
can't.
show.
No, but I can't pay with
No,
Bitcoin.
I would change the friends that I'm having my cocktails with rather than say something like that and continue the discussion.
Yeah.
No,
So
interesting.
friends, I hope you had a good time on this show. Please remember that if you are still, sort of obsessed with that FOMO factor of missing out on the Bitcoin investing
Just in headroom.
cycle, the cake headroom, as they say, and all these kind of cycles, please remember that, like Warren Buffett said, that please put your money if you understand the products. If you do not understand the product, probably ask an expert, meet around, and get some informed opinions. Perhaps a WhatsApp message or the internet is not the right place to source all
What
your
you're
information.
essentially saying, Leslie, is that don't put your money in technology, because nobody understands that. Don't put your money in WhatsApp. Nobody understands. Don't
Not
put your money in
really.
Facebook. Nobody understands. And best of
Or,
all, don't put your money in
or,
Google, because even Google doesn't understand.
Well, I did not say that.
or they can pay us for advice. We won't
I
mind
know.
that.
You
Absolutely.
never know. But folks, if you like our insights, please, and if you like this channel, please subscribe to this channel. Have a lovely weekend, and see you all next week. Jen, thank you once again for being on the show, and look forward to some more episodes with you. So, thank you once again.
Thanks,
Yep.
Leslie. Thanks,
Thanks,
Tabu. Have a
Leslie.
good day.
Thanks, Jan. Bye bye.
Bye bye.